Hey guys, how you doing? It's Kevtech here, bringing another video on information technology. I hope you're having a good day. Happy Wednesday, Feliz Navidad, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, etc., etc. Happy holidays. I just actually worked out. I'm sweating right now. But I want to make this quick video because I have to compile a bunch of videos, and that's going to be very time consuming. But I also want to make this video as quickly as possible. So part of being an entry level IT support, desktop support, technical support, help desk, service desk, any IT level 1 support, you need to understand how Mail Exchange works and you need to understand how Active Directory works. So I actually created Exchange and I created Active Directory just now on this computer. I have a new computer, and basically I want to go over it. So I can't go over this stuff unless I created it. So I created everything, I configured, I set everything up. I'm gonna put a video below in the description. I made a lab 10 or a lab. I made a lab on how to configure server 2016 with Exchange 2016. So if you want to look at that, you could look at that. You can do this on your own on your computer if you like. But this is a level 1 support video. So this is to show everyone Exchange admin console and just show you everything that we have here and show you how to create an account and stuff like that. So first thing I want to go over is I want to create an account on Active Directory. Second thing I want to do, I want to connect that account to Exchange. Third thing I want to do is I want to go over distribution groups. And I want to go over all the tabs here, and I just want to go over everything. So let's go into our Active Directory. Obviously, you can't do this unless you have this configured and set up, when I have it set up already. So I'm going to create an account, right? So every company has their own domain or account. So usually you will right click on it and you hit new. Obviously, depending on the environment, you basically have to move the user account to a certain profile or a certain OU and stuff like that. So this is going to be called Tom, and I'm going to call it Wells. It's gonna be T Wells because I go by the first letter of the name and their last name. That's how we do it in our job, and that's how we do it in a couple other jobs. I have it done that way. We're gonna put for password, we're gonna put password capital P 123, password capital P 123, and then I'm gonna do change security control, user password never expires, accounts disabled. I'm gonna hit next, next, next. All right, now the account is created. I want to enable advanced features just so I can see everything. I'm going to move them over to users. I'm going to hit yes. So you're going to go into your mail exchange. This is if you're working in an office. You go to the user mailbox. So you have the option here of basically, let me just put the time zone because they need to know what time zone I'm from, obviously. Eastern time, save. Alright, I'm going to open it again. So obviously if you go to user mailbox, you have the two options. Either you could manually create the mailbox by starting fresh with new user, or you could go into your existing mailbox and then look for the person. So for this one, I'm going to do Tom T. Wells or T. Well. I'm going to hit browse. You might not even have to create the alias because it's already there. So you're just going to hit browse. It should show up by default. And then you hit more options. And then you have your mailboxes right here. Obviously, like I got over this before in other videos. Depending on where you are. If you're going to pick a mailbox, it has to be the one that's located in your local area. So like if Tom is in New York, you will click on a mailbox that's from New York. You won't put him in New Jersey. You won't put him in Zimbabwe. You won't put him in London because it makes the mail exchange or it makes this email account very slow. So you won't do that. You'll connect to New York, if that makes sense, because he's from New York. So then you hit OK. And then you hit a policy. If you have a policy created, you hit save. So it should work. So now that I created this, stuff that you need to care about on Exchange are these things. So you need to care about voice, phone voice and features, depending on your environment. If you have Cisco Unify enabled, if you have Cisco Call Manager on your end, on your company, basically you click here the Mailbox Exchange, and then this is where you would set up a PIN for their voicemail or their phone. So when they go into their Cisco phone, they actually able to actually set up their PIN or their voicemail on their phone. So that's the reason why this is here, this phone voicemailing feature. Another thing you need to care about is mobile devices. So every time someone adds an email for the first time on a company email, so like if I were to add Kevtech local on my phone or any device, I guess, and a company issue phone, you gotta add your email. Once you add your email, you will go to view the details. You will see the device here. You can either allow it, you can either block it, or you could wipe the data on it. Because once it's added here, you could wipe the data or you could delete it. And you have your default mobile device policy. So they have different kinds of policies that you could create on Exchange. If you have like MDM, mobile device management, or if you have Mobile Iron and you use MOS 360, you use any of these other applications. So it's something you need to be familiar with. Email connectivity. If you want to disable Outlook on web, which is Webmail, which is right here. This is actually Webmail right here. I want to go over that afterwards. And then you have the option to move it to another mailbox. So maybe you have two servers, one in New York and one in New Jersey, and you want to connect them to the New Jersey one because you're testing like disaster recovery, penetration tests, or you're basically shutting off everything in New York and then trying to replicate it in New Jersey. So you will move them over to New Jersey, or maybe I'll give you another example, which maybe this will happen to you. Maybe you have a user or a client or a person that used to live in London and now lives in New York, and now you have to move their mailbox over to New York because they were in London. So you have to move them from server A to server B and then make sure everything replicates over to New York. And that's another example. So I definitely have to go over that because obviously you might see that in your job. So we're gonna go into more details. Open this up. Just like little things we're gonna go over, like this: first name, last name. Say for example, someone is leaving the firm, leaving the company. You want to go into hide from address list. That is very important. This is very important because if they leave the company, once you disable their account, they might still show up on the address book for Outlook, and you don't want them to show up anymore, or HR does not want them to show up because they already left the firm. Why would you want them in the address book? It doesn't make any sense. So you do hide from address book, and then you hit save changes, and then that's it. That's all you gotta do, and then that's it. And then we have your mailbox usage, more options. So here you set up the daily quote of how much they should have on their mailbox. Like there's a certain quote of mailbox data you want them to obtain or have on their mailbox. You can set it up right here. Here you put in their contact information, their zip code, where they work, country, etc., etc. Here you can put their title. So then when you look for them in the address book, their title will show up, what company they're from, what department they're from. And then here you put their manager. So if you have a manager they report to, you can add it here. Here is your email addresses. An important thing that you should note about this. Sometimes you have, this is level 1 support again. So sometimes you have people that work in the company that they don't like the way their name is showing up on the address book, on the email. And they're like, oh, my name is T Wells. I don't want that. I don't want them to see my name as T Wells. I don't want my reply email address to show up as T Wells. Why don't we just put the full name, tom.wells@kevtechlocal.com or whatever, at kevtech.local or whatever, company you have or whatever company you're working for. They want you to change the name of it. So you can do that here. So you hit add. And here you could add a new one. So if you could do like you do tom.wells, show you what I'm talking about. So tom.wells at kevtech.local, right? See if it lets me do it. Yep, and then that's it. So you could add another alias if you like. It even tells you right here, you could add and change the delete email address associated with the user. The user's primary email address is displayed in bold. So if you want to change this one as the main one, it actually gives you the option to do that. So you have to uncheck this. Check that. You have to uncheck that. Let's see. Show you right now. There we go. So you uncheck this in order for you to set up in order for you to set up the reply email address, is this one. So I want to make this the reply email address. You hit OK, and then you hit save, and it should work. So now it just updated it. So once it updates, it takes, it could take 24 hours. It could take 2 days. I don't know how, it depends where your company is and where the server is located. It could take maybe 10 to 12 hours. It could take 3 days. It could take 3 hours. It could be right away that it works right away. Every company is different. But then the email address, when they show up, when you look for someone's name, username, and password on the address book and on Outlook, that email address will show up instead. So that's basically what that is. So that's how you would change someone's email address. So like, they're like, oh, I want my email address to be, I don't know, first name, letter name, first name, last name, you change it there. So like here you would change it. So like I said, I'm going to go over it again. You hit the edit button. You could change it to something else. If you want to add more addresses, you could do that here. And you can make that the reply email address. And then basically, that basically is a shortcut for their email address. Like basically, they want that to be the main email address that they want to use if people reply to them or email them and stuff like that. And you could keep adding multiple ones here. You can add as many as you want, basically. So, we got our mailboxes. So, you have your share policy, role policy. By default, it will be default role. We went over all this already. You don't really care about this. The only thing you should care about is mail flow options. Basically, you could enable mail forwarding here. So if you want that email to be forwarded, like for example, I'll give you another example, level 1 support. Say for example, they're an important, like an SMD, they're a director, they're a manager, they're an owner of the company, or they recently dropped from the company, they're CEO that recently dropped from the company, and they want their email address to get forwarded to something else. You could do that. So if you wanted it to get forwarded to somewhere else, you could do that. You could set a maximum recipients as well, like number of recipients allowed to CC, BCC on this email address sent by this user. So you could do that. You can even deliver messages to both forward address and mailbox. So basically what that means is if you pick another mailbox here that it forwards over to, basically it creates a copy of it and gives it to your mailbox as well, the current mailbox you have. So it sends it to both mailboxes, if that makes sense. So that's something you might want to look into, or you care about. So that's why I'm going over it. That's something you should know for level 1 support, because someone might ask you like, oh, I don't use this email address or this mailbox anymore, or I want my emails to forward to a specific mailbox for HR, or I want this certain mailbox to forward to this account, so you could do that with that feature. Another thing you need to care about is distribution groups. Here will show you which groups they're added to. You have your mail tip, and you have your mailbox delegation. So if you want someone to, it even tells you what it means. So if you want someone to send as permission allowed delegate to send email from this mailbox, the message will appear saying that this is sent from this user's mailbox. If you want them to send on behalf of you, and basically that message will not pop up. It'll be as if you're the actual owner of the mailbox. You put them on the send on behalf instead of send as, if that makes sense. So if you want someone to send on behalf of you, you put them here. So then they can send on behalf of you, and then the mailbox or the email will come in as if it was you that was sending it instead of them, if that makes sense. This you need to care about full access is because full access allows you to dedicate to open this mailbox, but also behave as an email or mailbox user. So that basically means that if I were to hit administrator, add him here, and then hit save, I would be the owner of the mailbox. So then when you open up Outlook, the mailbox of the user will show up on the left-hand side of my email or my Outlook client. And then I have access to their mailbox, to the person that I just added. So like I have full admin rights to their mailbox. That doesn't necessarily mean I just have access to the mailbox. That means I have access to their mailbox, their calendar, their contacts, everything. Basically everything of the person of their Outlook mailbox. Basically everything of Outlook. Basically, and then the only reason you would do this or have this feature enabled for somebody is if you want to have multiple mailboxes. If you work for a publishing company, or you work for HR, or you work for you work as a manager or senior managing director, and then you just recently laid off someone and you want to see what they have in their mailbox. That's the only time you will give somebody full access. Another time you will give somebody full access is if you're an IT support level 1 guy, and someone needs access to a calendar, or someone needs access to a certain contact list, or a certain contact group, or something of that nature. Basically, you add a mailbox on their behalf. You right click on the mailbox, and then you hit properties, and then you give people access to like editor, reviewer, publisher rights, etc., etc. If that makes sense. That's the only time you would do this. So those are the only scenarios I would see that happening. I mean, it could be some other stuff as well. I mean, it's entirely, depends on your environment, but that's the stuff that will happen to you. Here you could do a link mailbox. It even tells you what that is. Mail's with an external account if you want to add an external account. And then here we'll go over a user mailbox. If you just want to create a regular user mailbox, you could create one here. That's entirely up to you. So if you just want to, say for example you have you have someone that works for a firm and they just want a mailbox only. They don't want an Active Directory account. They don't want an AD account. They just want a mailbox, and they want to have access to that mailbox. You would do that here. So you would create the mailbox here, and then hit save, and then you go into full mailbox rights again. Like I said, mailbox delegation, and then you add them to the mailbox. So then they'll have access to the mailbox, but you don't have to create an Active Directory account, because they just want a mailbox. So that, I don't know if that makes sense for you guys, but that's basically what this is. All right, so we're gonna jump into groups. Now I went over a mailbox. So I'm trying to go over one by one. So groups is a distribution group. So you could create a security group, a dynamic distribution group. It even tells you what it is. Like calculates every time a message is sent to the group. This calculates based on rules you define when you create the group. Specify the recipients of the member of this group, recipient types, users with mailboxes, users with mail users, from external email addresses. So basically you create a rule here, you add a rule. That's entirely up to you. You could create a custom rule and stuff like that. So this is basically what that is. This is not really used, honestly, a lot. Like, you should care more about security groups. This is a mail-enabled security group that could access and distribute messages and assign access permissions to Active Directory. You should care about security groups, and then you should care about distribution groups. So we're going to create one right now. So I'm going to call it IT support, right? And then we're going to call it IT support again. And then I want to put it somewhere. I'm going to put it in Microsoft Exchange groups right here. Just going to call it IT. And then we're going to, here you could create the owners. So if you want to make someone an owner of the distribution group, you could do that here, or you could remove them. And we're going to add members. So we're going to add our buddy Tom Wells right here. Add him. Okay. And then when you create these distribution groups, you want to set it as closed, because then other people could start adding themselves. You don't want that. So if you create a distribution group for someone in your office, your firm, your company, you want to create it as a closed group, because if it's open, anyone could join. If it's open, anyone could leave the group as well. You don't want that. So you just hit save, and then that's it. And then you have your distribution group. The only thing you should care about this is if you want to hide it from the address book, because they show up in the address book. Once you create the distribution group, it takes maybe 3 to 4 hours for it to replicate across the whole system, or it could take a whole day. It depends where you're located. Again, I'm going over location because that's very important. You might create this distribution group for somebody in Europe, and it might take them like a day or two for it to show up for them in their system. You don't know. If you create a distribution group and say, for example, that they no longer need it, usually I don't recommend deleting distribution groups unless you have a probable cause for deleting it. I just hide it from the address book. Just like mailboxes, you can hide distribution groups to the address book. So then you hide it. You have your owners here. If you want to add another owner to it, you could do that. Membership approval. Like I said, leave everything closed. Delivery management. This is very important, because if you have a distribution group and you get a bunch of like error codes, or you get error codes, or you get like a bounce back from someone that sent an email from a Gmail account to this account and it doesn't work, it's because you have to enable send inside and outside my organization, and that allows this email or this distribution group to receive emails from a Gmail account. So make sure this is checkmarked. If it's not checkmarked, it's not going to work if someone emails you from a Gmail account or an external account, if that makes sense. So if it's an internal account, which is inside the firm, it'll work fine. External, it will not work. You have to allow that first and then hit save, and you're good after that. Obviously, you might need to get approval for that, so you might talk to your compliance, you might text the HR, you might talk to your manager. Once they approve it, you hit that little check mark and you hit save. You have your message approval. Messages sent to this group can be approved by the moderator. So this is messages that come in. They have to be approved before they go in the actual, before they get sent to everyone in the distribution group. That's basically what that is. Email options, like I went over mailboxes. You could create another email address, an alias if you like, a shortcut or another email address. You could do that here. Part of that as well, you uncheck this again, and basically you can make the reply email address to whatever you want. That's basically what that is. And then you have your mail tip. This is display when you send an email to this group. You could create a mail tip to display when people send an email to this group. Mail tip could be a maximum of 175 characters. And you have your group delegation. You can send as again and send on behalf. It tells you what it is. Obviously, you put someone send on behalf. If you wanted to send on behalf of the group, you want to do that one. You want to do send as if you want to see who sent it from what group and stuff like that, and you do send as permission. And that's basically it for mailbox and groups. I want to go over resources now. So tells you what it is. Resources is a room mailbox. So if you want to create a room mailbox assigned to a physical location, you could do that. A room mailbox will be used on calendars. So if you want to book a room or a calendar, you could do that here. So you create a room, like I call this like the 11th floor, for example, 11th floor, New York. And then I'm going to do a 11F, right? And we're going to put it in here. Location, New York. I'm going to leave the capacity off. Obviously, you're going to pick the same mailbox. It's located in New York. You can put a policy if you like. And then you hit save. It should work. So basically, now you created a room. This is why we creating rooms. Rooms are created if you have an office that has multiple conference rooms, and you want to book that room. Basically, what you do is you have an 11th floor room. For example, you have an 11th floor room in your job in your company, and they have to invite that room. Once they invite the room will auto accept it. And if it's auto accepting the room, then that means that room is free and you could use that room. So this is the reason why you create these rooms, is because it allows you to basically be more organized in your firm and your company, and basically it gives you the ability to control whether or not you're able to use that room or not, if that makes sense. So this is the reason why you would do this. So if you have resources and you want to create rooms for every room that you have or every floor you have in your job, I would recommend doing this. This will make you really more organized, and this basically will help you in a way that no one just randomly just shows up to that room when you're having a conference call and you're having a meeting, or you're having a laptop display, or you're having a company that's from like an example like Deloitte or KPMG, and these big companies just show up, and then you can't just, you just randomly show up to the room, and the room's already booked. You didn't check the calendar and it's already booked. This is basically what that's for. So this is the reason why I create rooms. You don't worry more about equipment mailboxes. This is like if someone's bringing a laptop and stuff like that, you could do that here as well. So like if you want to create a one that, if you know someone's bringing a laptop and they're from like a big company, you would do that here as well. So like you could create an alias for that, and you could create one called laptop, and you just put technology or something like that as the alias. And then you hit OK, and then you pick the same mailbox, you hit OK, and you hit save. So now if you don't want that to show up, you can hide it from the address book as well. You can put the department and company as well. You could set it that it automatically accepts it, or you could set it that only delegates could accept it. Certain delegates could accept it. So like only the person that could accept it would be Tom. Tom could be in charge of that. So this is what I would do. Like if I were an IT support guy and I have multiple offices and I have multiple rooms and I don't want anyone to just randomly show up in the room, I create laptop rooms, or I create regular rooms like this one, right? And basically add an assistant to it. So like you have a bunch of admins and assistants, put them in here, and then they're the only ones that are allowed to accept the room and accept the meeting. No one else is able to accept the meeting. That's the reason why I would do this. Allow repeated meetings. Always accept, always decline. Put more information here. You could put like before I went over, you could create a shortcut for this. So if you don't want it to be called 11F at Kevtech, you could change it to something else. You hit the edit button, change the name of it. You want to add a reply email address, another type of email address, add it here, and then make this the reply email address. Same thing, mailbox delegation. You could do send as, or you could do send on behalf, or you could give someone full access to that room, or to see that calendar basically, and they have access to allow and decline things that go in and out basically. So this is the only time you will create resources, is whenever you need to do any of these things. And I definitely recommend this. I want you to implement this in your job. If you're level 1, level 2 support, definitely this is definitely something I recommend doing, because you don't want people randomly showing up to your room when you're having a meeting. You want the rooms to get booked by default in advance, so people just don't randomly show up. So this is like, I create one for the 11th floor, one for the 12th floor. You might have like 11th floor boardroom. You might have 11th floor conference room. You might have 11th floor, whatever the name you call it, And you tell assistants, please book the room through an invite. Book the room through an invite. And that way I know that the room's, being booked by someone from 1 o'clock to 2 p.m., from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. And that's basically what this is. This is very important, because this is part of 365. This is part of Exchange. And you should definitely know how this works. You should definitely implement this in your job if you're doing any type of support. So now you have your contacts. And your contacts is, if you want to create a mail contact, you could create a mail contact. And this was basically like a contact that... It's basically a contact that will show up for somebody. So like if I create like my name, Kevin Polinario, right? We'll do Kevin, right? And then you guys know my Gmail account already, right? Why is this important? I'll show you right now why this is important. And then I'm gonna put okay, save. So if I want someone, you can hide this in the address book as well. So like I recommend hiding stuff in the address book. I don't recommend deleting anything, because you never know if someone is ever coming back to the firm, or if someone's ever coming back to that job. So I like to disable everything and just hide everything. That's basically how I do. I don't delete anything unless I am told by HR, my CTO, or by my director. Then I will delete it. Obviously, I wouldn't delete it because, I feel like it doesn't work that way. You have your contact information, organization, email, and then manager, who to report to in general. So why is this created? What's the point of this? So this is a contact that you will create. So like if you create these contacts and you add email addresses to them, it goes to that email address. So like if I were to send an email to this contact list, it will email it to my Gmail account. That's basically what's the purpose of this, what's the point of this basically. And you create a mail user account as well. So if you want, you could create a mail user account, and you could create a mail user account here and then add them here. So like if I were to create Kevin, the same thing, 63 gmail.com. We're gonna add it for default account, save. Well, actually, I can't do this one. I need to set up an SMTP, which I don't have for this. It's not gonna work. Yeah, it's going to have to be Tom Wells. It's all right. I'll leave it alone. But basically, you will create this if you want to send an email to a contact account, and that's it. That's basically what this is. You can delete it here. You hit yes. You get a warning sign. If you ever delete any of these things, you get a warning sign. This is share as well. So share is a share mailbox. Allow a group of users to view and send emails from common mailboxes. So our common calendar. So if you have an HR department and they want emails to go to that share mailbox, and they want emails to go back and forth, and they want to send on behalf of that mailbox as well, this is the only time you will create a share mailbox. So this is what it is, and basically, like, if we create one called like technology, right? And you create IT, technology mailbox. See if it lets me do that. Yep. Created IT, and then I'm gonna go into organization unit. Hit OK. Following users permission to view and send on behalf of the mailbox. We'll put Tom Wells on it again. Hit OK. More options. Obviously, you gotta pick the right mailbox from New York, and then we're gonna do save. And then the same thing, you can hide it from the address book if you like. That's entirely up to you. You give someone full access to the mailbox. That's entirely up to you. You get the error message when the person has not logged in or used that mailbox. Contact information, organization, email address. You have your members. You have your distribution group, and that's it. So this is like I would recommend doing this is if you have an HR department and they need to share a mailbox with each other and they want to send on behalf of the mailbox, then I would do a share mailbox. That's basically what this is for. HR, compliance, I don't know, like maybe a hedge fund, who knows? That's basically what that is. You have your migration. So this is your migration. If you want to move someone to a different database or a different mailbox, you do it here. So if you want to move somebody, you could do that here. New local mailbox move. And then when you move someone to their mailbox, you could actually import their contact users and accounts here as well. So like say, for example, you have someone that just started a new job and you want to import their contacts from their old job, you could put the CSV file here and import all their contacts into that new mailbox, into that new job. They'll have all their contacts after this. This is where you would do that. Things you should worry about is permissions as well. You have your admin roles and permissions. I am a full admin, so like it even tells you what each one does. So like if you want someone to have Exchange and you want them to have certain access to certain stuff on this, you could do that here. If you hit the edit button, it actually tells you what they have access to. Like you have your roles right here. Like you want to give them access to everything, you could do that. You want to put certain members here to be part of it, you could do that here. So like in your job, obviously you probably will have a unique group here that's associated with level 1 support or help desk like this one, and they'll only have access to certain tabs, if that makes sense. You have your user roles as well. If you want to add another role here, you could do that, and you could customize it. You have your Outlook web app appliances here as well. Features. So this is the Webmail. This is the Webmail, which we're gonna go over in 2 seconds. Webmail is right here, and you could put what people have access to, like contacts, Exchange. They have the ability to change their password when they log into Webmail. They have access to change their themes if they like. They have access to manage their calendars, their tasks. They have access to direct file access, which basically means they're able to open and download attachments. If you want to remove that, you can remove that here. You have your offline access as well. You have your compliance management. You want to do auditing for mailboxes, you could do that here. Who should care about this would be HR. So you would do this for HR. I'm not going to go over any of these other tabs. There's organization as well. Organization is not enabled. Don't worry about that. And there's address list. And these are all the things that we have been working on. You know, address list, all contacts. It even tells you what it does. Like it's created by the Exchange. Like this was created already. I don't gotta do anything about this. Then there's protection for malware that comes in. Then there's mail flow as well. You know, Maybe you block and allow certain things, deliver reports. Is it sent from or a specific person? You can now allow them to search the messages from certain keywords. You like to search for certain emails. That's what this is for. This is similar to Proofpoint, similar to Mimecast. Is basically what this is. You could accept domains. You have your email address policies as well. I'm not gonna go over this in depth. You have your mobile as well. So if you have certain devices you want to quarantine, you could do that here. You could allow and block certain devices here from certain people. You could do that here. You have your public folders. Don't worry about that. You have your unified messaging. If you have voicemail enabled, you could do that here. You could edit it in depth here. Your voicemail. You could dial. You could change the plan of it. Unsecure, secure, audio language. Change the region. Extension length, the internal number of digits and telephone numbers assigned to the user. That's what this is for. You have your servers. I only have one server, and then these are all the inbuilt websites that you could go into, like Webmail. This is the server that we've been adding stuff to. This is the New York server. We have your database server here. This is the New York server. You have your database availability groups, virtual directories, which is like I just said, all the mailboxes all the things that all the different websites you go into. You can go onto OWA and stuff like that, certificates, and then hybrid. If you want to do like a hybrid setup, allows you to connect and manage both your premises and Exchange Online organization. You can do that here. And that's basically it. That's everything in a nutshell here. I only went over the stuff that you should care about. You don't have to care about all these things. So if you're a server admin, then yeah, you would have to care about the other stuff. But I went over all the tabs here, and that's what I care about, because that's what you should know. Now I'm gonna go over Webmail real quick. So Webmail, obviously they changed it up a little bit. You have your mail on the left hand side, emails that come in and out. Stuff you should care about for a user will be calendar. If they want to add calendars, you could create calendars here. Stuff they should care about is people. If they want to add contacts here, they can add contacts. Stuff that they should care about is here. If you hit change, you could change the photograph of your picture. If you have a Skype server, the picture will update here, and you could change it here, and then they could update their Skype picture, their profile picture. Stuff you should care about as well would be going into options, going into my account. Here you could change your password. So if you go into my account, you could change your Active Directory password. So if you want to change your password for your computer, you could change it here, or you could do Control-Alt-Delete on your computer, and you could change it that way as well. You have your theme. These are distribution groups that you're probably part of or belong into. You have your keyboard shortcuts. You have your add-ins. Maybe you have some add-ins here. Other stuff you should care about, I'm gonna go over right now, will be, let's see, went over this. Mobile phone is here. Change your password. You don't have to care about this. If you want to set up like if you want to set up automatic process, you could do that here. Like an automatic reply. Like if you're leaving if you're out of office and you want to set up your out of office reply, you could do it here. So if you want to set up your out of office reply, you could do that here. So you don't have to necessarily have your computer or laptop. You could just go into Webmail, and then you can set up your out of office here from your mobile phone or from like on a laptop and go into Google Chrome and stuff like that. You have your undo. You have inbox rules. So if you have any rules you need to create, you could create them here. Sometimes you have an issue where Outlook doesn't open. It's because you have a rule box that's corrupted. You might want to go in here and uncheck all your inbox rules, and then try to open Outlook again, and then that will fix that problem. I don't know if you guys ever had that issue, but that's a Microsoft issue. You have your junk email report, mark as read, messages, read, block and allow. If you want to block and allow certain users from sending you emails, you can do that here. You have your POP, your IMAP, storage. This is your layout if you want to change the way your layout is. And then you have your calendars. Here you can personalize your calendar appearance, the date and time to show. invitations, reminders, and birthdays. And then if you want to go back, hit the little back button, and that's it. That is pretty much everything. Oh, also, I forgot, you could also open up the mailbox. So, like, if you have access to another mailbox and you want to see that mailbox or log into that mailbox, you can do that here. So, you just hit open another mailbox. So, if you have an access to, like, an HR mailbox or a compliance mailbox or some kind of other mailbox, you could access it there by going to open another mailbox. You have your refresh, add-ins. I went over options already. And then that's it. That is pretty much everything. So that's pretty much OWA, and that's pretty much Microsoft Exchange in a nutshell. And that's it. That's pretty much it. That's all. That's all I'm going to show you for now. This is all level 1 support. Anyway, guys, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great day. As always, give me a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. Rate, comment, subscribe. Happy holidays, and take care. Bye.